So one thing I want to cover is how, if you have something in Fireworks, a mock-up, how you could turn that into actually a design that you can specifically use in Dreamweaver. So there are a number of ways that you can do this, but one of the ways, so this is a basic mock-up I have, is that Fireworks has some basic tools where you can actually add links to it, to your image, to your mock-up. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to show you an example of how I would do this. So if I go over here to this rectangle hotspot, and be aware that if you click down you can get other options, but the rectangle will meet my needs. I'm then going to mouse over, and then down here I'm going to put the link. So let's just say this is home. You can give the alt text right here. This is also where you could decide whether you wanted it to open in a new window, blank, or if you were doing, self-apparent or more if you're using frames. But I'm just going to leave this as is, and I'm going to add a few more. Just going to repeat the steps. You can notice you can make them different sizes. You definitely want to try to make them as much as the same size as possible. And I can put my last one here just to illustrate my point. There's not actually corresponding pages to these, but I just want to show you how you would add basic HTML and then export it out of here. I'm going to scroll down because I have one last one. My next button. Okay, so now that I've have the basic HTML added with hotspots, and I could do the same thing. I could add a hotspot if I wanted to for over the banner, for instance, if it went to, some other site. Let's pretend. Alright, so now I'm going to go back. So now that I have my actual hotspots already created, now I'm going to use the slice tool and I'm going to make some slices. And what this will do is it's going to basically allow me to export this giant image, if you will, into different slices that will make it load faster once it's put into Dreamweaver. Scroll down, and I'm just trying to put it in slices in the same kind of areas that I'm going to add text. Alright, now that I have all my slices, I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to export this. By default, it's recognized that it's going to export as HTML and images, which is what I want it to do. But you can look down that you could just, you have some other options when it comes to exporting. So I'm going to deselect selected slices only. I want it to do all of them. Be aware that you have a few other options here. And so in this case, I'm just going to say OK, and I'm going to save it. Then if I go into Dreamweaver, I'm going to go to open this page, and you'll notice that I have everything there. And so if you actually click on things, you'll notice that they're different images that it imported it along the slices. And if I click on home, I can notice that the link's already there. If I click on module 1, etc. Same thing if I scroll down and click on next. So let's just go ahead and look at this in a browser. Preview it. I'm going to preview this in Google. So if I click on home or module, you notice any of these, the links appear to be working. When my mouse goes over, it turns to the hand, but if I click on it, it brings me to a dead page, but it brings me to module 1. So that page didn't exist, so that worked exactly the way it should. Same thing with module 3, etc. So it worked. And so this is a basic way of how to take a mockup, add some slices, add your links, and then or add some hotspots, that is, add your links, and then slice it and bring it right over into Dreamweaver. Another option that you can do is sometimes you might want to just use a background image. So let's just pretend. Let's actually see if we can just undo all this. So then if I have this image, and I'm just going to call this background, sometimes you might have created an image that you really want to just use as a guide so when you get in Dreamweaver. So I'm going to create a new page, and in this case you can use a background image to use as a guide, or you can use a background image specifically if you go ahead and save this. So once again, I'll repeat myself. You can use a background image if you want to just have it serve as a guide to create a new page, or sometimes for decorative reasons, people always want a background image. So in this place, I'm going to hit no repeat. But now that I have this as a background image, you could see how you could create divs, or simply add a table to provide a similar type of structure. So I could go ahead and mess with this table and try to make it the same length, the same width, etc. And so this would be a way that you could serve as a guide if you had a basic image. The one last thing I want to kind of highlight is how sometimes we find websites that we're impressed with. Maybe we want to create something exactly like it. Maybe we're really impressed with the style they use. So what you can do with most websites is you can put your mouse over it and right click, and you can view the source, and this allows you to view the HTML. Now if you right click over certain things like Flash, it's not going to allow you to do that. So this is a Flash object. But if I put my mouse somewhere else on the page, and went too quick. And I right click and I view source, it's going to open the code to me. So I'm going to actually just copy this, and I'm going to paste it into Dreamweaver. Now, I never recommend just copying a design of another website directly, but sometimes it can help to serve as a guide of how another site structures something. You might really be impressed with the way they do that. So you can see how you could start in Dreamweaver with another design and start making your changes, your colors. Maybe you just really like the layout. Other thing to keep in mind, if you go to code view with websites, especially once you've taken the code, you can usually look up in the header and you can see what type of cascading style sheets they use. So in this case, for instance, this is the common one, and so I could take this, and if I actually copied it, for instance, this URL, and if I went to this website, I could see that it would actually give me, and it just went and downloaded it into Dreamweaver right now. This is the style sheet that goes to it. And so sometimes specifically with styles, when you're really impressed with the way someone does something, it's often helpful to look at their style sheet. But because I put the code down here, this new version of Dreamweaver, I can even see that it gives me even links right here to the basic CSS. So I don't even have to go that far, as well as the JavaScript. So be aware that, as you're creating web pages, sometimes we start in Fireworks and we design there. Sometimes we'll start with another website and try to that we're inspired by, and try to maybe start with that design but really move it in a different direction and make it our own. So this is just a couple tips on how to move from a mock-up to a web page.